268 games, huh?
Yeah.
One club?
One club, that's right.
And 33 tests.
Yeah, 33 tests for one country, yeah.
That's massive, man. And so
Yeah.
you won the grand final 2011 with
10.
10.
Yep.
That was big. You hadn't won for like years, St. George, right? Before
yeah,
that.
31 years until then, and what's it been? 14 since.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a while ago now.
I actually got a lot of mates that go for St. George.
Who do you
grew
go
up
for?
in the St. George.
Who do you go for?
I'll go for Manly. It's terrible.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We're coming fifth, mate. Better than that.
Yeah, true. Not by much.
But I remember that year when he's won in 2010, and you just had a great side. But you just had a great side prior to that. Like you guys had a decent side for many, many years, but it took Wayne Bennett to kind of bring everything together, right?
Yeah, we had lots of success in that, like 2003, 4, 5, 6 even. We only had one down year. This is Nathan Brown was coaching all that time. Lots of top 4 finishes and probably, especially I think it was 05, that was star-studded and probably should have gone a lot further. But knocked out in prelim finals and a history of doing really well and performing really well without being able to make it. And yeah, I think it took the squad that was hungry and had been through enough pain to I suppose build that, and then obviously Wayne to come down and put it together. But I think that's where a lot of time gets missed. The credit that goes to what Nathan Brown built. And what everyone else involved in the club, be it Douse and everyone else involved in the club through, from 03 till 2010, that built up for that, because a lot of those players that were played in 05 and 06 had the disappointment to turn that around in 2010. Pretty quick time, really, 4 years. And so, yeah, the foundations were there. I think that's probably the big piece. Does get passed over. We did need a bit of polish, and Wayne definitely provided that. And yeah, I think those guys that built to that probably don't get as much credit. And I think it's, it shows that yes, Wayne Bennett definitely, like, he's the best coach I've ever had and or ever will have. Can't find any personal trainers as good as Wayne these days. But
personal trainers.
Yeah, I'm just saying. There's so many people to coach me these days. So no, so. But Wayne hasn't won a comp since then either.
He hasn't. I mean, look, to be perfectly honest, like, taking the Newcastle job was going to be pretty hard, because even though there was players that he took along with him to Newcastle, he had the right ingredients at St. George. You know what I mean? He had the players that was sort of the team that was ready to go to that next level.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, have you seen since he's left? He likes a challenge. No, he likes a challenge though. Yeah. That Newcastle he saw. Look, let's be honest. Nathan Tinkler was there, billionaire at the time. Yeah, and probably some ingredients that Wayne liked. Attraction to the future and the potential. Wollongong has got some similarities to Newcastle. I think he thought it was better, and I think he would have seen that the fact that the finances were there and it all looked good. It didn't happen, didn't work out. But in saying that, I think he likes a challenge, and that's what he saw there. But yeah, I suppose he's done a lot of good things since then, but hasn't actually converted into a comp. You look at what he's doing with the Dolphins at the moment. It's obviously good. South to get them in a grand final a couple of years ago, where they were only very close to beating them. But being able to taste that success and chase the challenges, that is part of what it's about as well, I suppose.
Your playing career, playing on the wing, you were tough, you were robust, breaking a lot of tackles. I know you probably don't like talking about yourself, but you were one of those wingers that, you always knew Jason Nightingale was going to do his job. Like, he was tough, you break tackles, you wouldn't miss tackles, great in defence. There was a lot of things you've done extremely well. How did you get to that point? Like, what was your junior career like? And, did you know that you were you one day wanted to make first grade? What was that sort of journey like?
Yeah, not really. I suppose on the breaking tackles and that, the part of what I was blessed with was strength. I was quite strong despite the fact I look small, and that really helps with durability. It helps with power, breaking tackles, obviously finding quick play of the balls and the things I was good at, jumping high, all those things go into it. And I think that was probably where my genetics stacked up nicely was in that department, and it really helps. Obviously, you see. Own a gym, you see the importance when people apply that strength of sport. So, it was blessed to have that. Didn't have everything, but that was sort of the underpinning of the way I played footy. To answer the question on whether I always thought or always wanted, or it was a slow and steady sort of journey, and like any sort of teenager growing up, I didn't have a growth spurt till I was 16, so I was not really good until then. I was only really short. And then had the part where I didn't really take it seriously. I think I made a plan when I was about 17, 18, just finishing school. And I was half in, half out. I was like, look, don't really have that many, what I want to do. I'm not that clear on it. At least I'm playing good enough. I was playing junior reps to have a go at rugby league until I'm about 21. And then after that, if it doesn't happen, because I wasn't in the Jersey Flegg sides. I wasn't in the school. Never made a schoolboy side in my life. So I was playing our junior district. So Harold Matthews SG ball. Pulwick came last both years, or 3 years.
For Saints,
for Saints, second last and last. So that's nothing to sit there and go, oh, here's this. When I did made the 20 side. It was as a trialist, so no contract. They said, yep, you're allowed to come down and train, but essentially you might get cut. So that was cool, and I suppose being a Manly fan, there was an option. I also went and trialled for the Manly Seagulls under-20s and made that side and got offered a contract as well, which was attractive when I had no contract, had to pay for medical at one club, and obviously a contract at the other club. So but yes, chose to trial and went through the 20s, and our team, I learned a lot in that season. I was 18 at the time, so still priorities were probably still socialising above footy, but the people I was surrounded by were probably more professional than me, even though they were kids. So I had Brett and Josh Morris, I had Dan Hunt, I had Chris Houston, played for the Knights, and a lot of the Darren Millard, Georgia Deere, a lot of the guys that were been in some sort of system for a while. I hadn't been in a system, so they were a couple of years ahead of me in their own maturity and application to footy, and I learned a lot from that. They ended up winning the comp, and I think that's when I got the confidence to go, okay, well, I've got something.
During that process, did you find it like, in some groups it's very hard to fit in to those certain cliques in the sides, but with Josh Morris and all that, did you find that easier to fit in? Like, what I'm looking at is like a young player coming through. Is it hard for the young players coming through to be able to fit into the cultures, or do they have to level up? There's a certain standard, and if you don't meet that criteria, it's going to be hard to make it.
Well, I think specifically to that under-20 side, it was like that's where St George and Illawarra merged at that level in under-20s. So before that, you play for St George District or the Illawarra Steelers, and then it comes together at 20. So we're all young. We're all the same age as an age group. So you've got so much in common. It's not that we were just a bunch of two different groups of 18, 19-year-olds came together, and we were like the 99 Dragons team. Pretty star-studded. We didn't lose many games, and we got along like any other 18, 19-year-old would. And we are still close to a lot of that Jersey Flegg team. And I think there were 16 of us from that squad of 25 that went on to play NRL. So obviously being able to play juniors, like under-20s with those sort of people, and maintain a lot of those friendships. I'm still friends with a lot of those people I played in under-20s with, whether they made it or didn't. We formed really good relationships, and that really helped us when we went up to first grade squads, which was the year after we started training, and then the year after that, a lot of us had played first grade, whether it be at Dragons or somewhere else. Having a few people that you felt comfortable with, had a long, 3 or 4 year relationship with, like you said, Penrith, it does really help cohesiveness with the group, and certainly we had that through that 06, 7, 8 team where a lot of us had stayed together.
You do a lot of work, obviously. I first met you at NRL headquarters where, you got a business where you help, the young footballers choose a career path, life after footy. When you look at, clubs like, say, Penrith, how they bring their juniors through, why can't other clubs create, that environment better than than they already do, right? Yeah. Like you talked about St. George, all those players played first grade. It doesn't seem to filter through through many teams.
To be honest, it's purely a numbers game. Yeah. Penrith have a heap of juniors, and when you say St. George Illawarra has a heap of juniors. Yeah. So when you're talking about St. George Illawarra and that team that went through, there would have been 80% of them come from Illawarra. Myself and a couple of others came from St. George. So that's a nice mix, but it's purely numbers and participation. Our catchment down in Illawarra is a great opportunity. There's so many people from that South Coast, Illawarra, Wollongong region that are playing in first grade today. You look at your team, Ruben Garrick.
He's from there, right?
Yeah, he's from there. But
there's Short brothers too.
Yeah, Short brothers. Yeah. So these heartlands, and Penrith, there's plenty of Penrith juniors that are playing not at Penrith. So that's just purely a numbers game. I think you look at the Warriors and New Zealand, obviously they've got a bunch of junior bases, Southeast Queensland teams like Broncos, Titans. It's purely a participation, a numbers game, and not so much how you nurture them. I think what you see Penrith do is have held. There's still a bunch of Penrith juniors playing outside of Penrith. Was it Dolphins game on the weekend is a good example. Their halfback was a Penrith junior. It's the ones that you identify, nurture, and keep, because you can't keep Nathan Cleary, and Luai together forever. Yeah, forever, and then there are collateral damage. The people that move and are great first graders at other clubs. So, that's I think that's just a purely numbers participation game. But I think that the best thing about that is other districts are getting a lot bigger. The Cronulla Sutherland Sharks, the Shire district, the participation there is going through the roof. Yeah, my son plays there now, and there's so many people playing rugby league, whereas there was a dip over a number of years. It's on the way back up, and I think that's the popularity of the NRL. Some of the things they've done to make it safe to play, and these sort of head knocks and those sort of things are really being stamped out. So I think people are coming up with and being a lot more confident in it. Touch footy, tag versions. I think all those things go towards people playing the game, and obviously the product itself. It's great to watch.
Have you still got a lot to do with St. George?
I still turn up to every home game.
You do?
Yeah, to help out with the team commercially. Home games we win, mate. Don't worry about that.
I hate St. George because we lose to them all the time.
No, well, everyone hates Manly, so you shouldn't feel bad.
They all go for St. George. They don't live in the North Shore. Yeah, they should be going for Manly. I should be going for St. George. I went to James Cook Boys High.
Oh, did you?
Right around the corner.
Unbelievable trainer. Yeah, well, that's all right. There's one club everyone hates. It's Manly. So
you know when I went to Year 7 at James Cook.
Yeah.
Brian Smith was the coach.
Yeah.
And the Hardy boys, Kurt Landers and all that. Yeah. It was a St. George catchment. It was a sports high school.
It was.
And then it changed the year after.
Yeah, they were guns. It'd be great if they bring that back. Obviously Endeavour and that's in. Yeah. But you do see the benefit. It'd be cool to bring that sort of thing back. And yeah, they had a great team back in the day. But no, so yeah. Like Manly says, Manly hates you too, isn't it? Yeah. I don't even know if we like ourselves when we lose. Yeah. We just disappear. I went up to Brookie and watched us lose in the second half to you a few months back. But no, so I'm still involved. I sit on the board of the district. I help out commercially with Dragons, our partners, some of our partners. And then on game day, we do a little bit around that. So, it's great to still be involved. I love the club, and there is always capacity to stay involved, which is great. Those that hang around for a long time. Ben Cray still involved. Ben Hornby wish he wasn't coaching South and was back involved. But those people are Dragons for life.
Dean Young.
Yeah, and Dean Young obviously back. And these sort of people are Dragons for life, and that's the privilege that of being part of the club and continue to be part of it, even though it is not a huge part of my time commitments in life. It always will be a big part of who I am. It's kind of the foundations that's given you the opportunity in business too, right?
Like you, obviously, like it doesn't help everyone, but you seem to me like someone that's, you know, looking to get so much more out of life outside of the game as well.
I think that's the beauty of sport. That's the beauty of sport. There's the attraction to it. You know, it doesn't. It's not so much the club. I've got great networks within the St George Illawarra community, our St George community. But it is the attraction of sport, the business of sport. It just creates so much interest. And I think, you know, we're just lucky that we pay for the biggest crowd in New South Wales and Queensland, and you know, I think you know, obviously Melbourne has got AFL, but being part of that, everyone's so interested in it, and that just allows people to be the social side of it, bring people together, whether it be, you know, turn up to the game on the hill or meeting someone at an event. That's the benefit that comes with being sport as periphery, and the fact that it does bring people together, whether you're you know, a kid playing at your junior ground, or you know, some of these you know, a female who's playing the WNRL. The opportunities that are open because of the brand of the Red V that we're part of, but also the brand of the NRL that's been growing out of sight.
And what you're seeing now is a lot of ex-players, they're starting their own podcasts. They're monetizing it. You know, they're doing a lot of commentary. So there's so many more avenues now than ever before for individuals to still, you know, work on, you know, or with teams or do podcasts on the game that they love. That's creating the opportunities if they've obviously, you know, got the voice, or, you know, they want to talk about their stories. Because I was interviewing Mitchell Pearce here a couple of weeks ago, and he's got an amazing story. And he goes, "This is what I want to be able to do now. I've finished the game. You know, I know where I kind of went wrong. You know, and alcohol's a huge part of the game in itself, and obviously, I've been around the game for a long, long time, and you know, there's, you know, when you look at the game itself, there's also problems with a lot of the young guys coming through, and each team's got you know, HR departments and all that kind of stuff. What are the things that you're seeing? Because obviously you have helped a lot of the young guys come through. What are the kinds of things that you're seeing that still needs further development in the game, so that these young players that don't make it, because not everyone's going to make it, that need more support in?
Yeah, I think the welfare and education's been a big part of it. Ben Cray was at uni full time when he was playing with us, and he was sort of a leader for us in that place, and myself and other teammates and people through the game who study at university through that's pretty impressive. At Lead Ethic Business School, we try and set foundations, like you said, create an idea, or at least put a business plan together, say what would it be, but that just allows them to get interested in something outside of sport. You know, we get certifications, but it's more about the soft skills that you already have, and how that applies to the real world, just to bridge the gap, because it is such an institutionalised way to live within the game of rugby league or any other sport. So I think that's really important, to have something outside of your sport, whatever sport that is, to make sure you have networks outside of that, because it is an institution that once it finishes, you can't depend on. You have to sort of go out on your own and build your own things. Yes, I'll always have a connection to our club and really proud of that, but it's not what feeds me anymore. It's not. I don't, you know, sit there and watch, you know, $20,000 roll into my bank account every month. I have to go out and find other ways to do that, and that's probably the biggest challenge of today. Is not so much that they're very well paid. You know, it's average wage is around $400,000. It's like, it's not the money they're earning while they're doing it. It's just the understanding of what to do with it when they've got it. So, and that's probably a cultural piece as well. There's a lot of people, you know, the hero of the family is someone with, you know, they might have 4 or 5 siblings, and you know, we're a blue collar sport, and you know, being able to understand the cultural sensitivity around whether you're Pacifica or white or wherever you're from, the backgrounds, and how to help people manage for the long term so it's sustainable, educate those around them. So the players, we get a lot of education, whether it be workshops on this and workshops on that, but educating those around them, so their community and their family, and whoever it is that is becoming a dependent of a kid, it's a bit backward to be dependent on a 19-year-old who's playing when their parents or they've got to pay for their siblings. That's probably the biggest challenge on these days. Is, you know, you see that effect of the education gets given to the player, the opportunities gets given to the player, but there is such a, I'm so grateful for the way I was raised and people that helped raise me. And if I, my family grew up with not a lot of money, but if I was to just give them money for not doing anything, it's just not the right way to do it. So I think there's probably the education to the outside is probably the biggest challenge, because yes, you're earning $500,000 a year, you are doing really well, but if you spend it, you can still spend it by giving and that sort of thing. And so I think the education outside of that's probably the biggest challenge. And I think they're tougher conversations to have, and that's also something you have less control over. What people do, you don't want to be controlling everything they do, but what they do when they go home, what they do with their money, is probably the biggest challenge for younger kids from poorer backgrounds.
Especially coming from out west, right? Because there's a lot of Pacific Islanders out there. Like, obviously, do you think there's an advantage because, you come from a Maori background as well? Is that an advantage for you as well, to be able to help these kids and connect with them?
It's the background you come from and the not having money versus having money, and the education that's the gap there is missing. There are challenges around it, but it's finding a way to educate yourself. That's the first thing, because that's the one thing. But then my family was always, they've never asked me for anything. I'd love to provide and when the opportunity comes, but I'm blessed. My family's never asked me for anything. I think that's the challenge, where the expectation comes the other way. And whether it's Australian,
doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter who it is. You're right.
That's
because it's a lot of pressure on the young kid to be able to look after their family and have the expectation of that. And it almost, correct me if I'm wrong, it'd affect their game, right?
Oh, definitely. You see people and you know that they're struggling, and I think that's the challenge of the welfare officers and the education people around them.
How do they bridge that gap? But what's the conversation like to the parents? Like, who has that? The kid has it? Does the welfare officer go there?
It depends on lots of different situations. Like, there are people employed to help with that sort of thing, identify it, but the onus also comes on the player, male or female, to be able to have that conversation. It's not an easy conversation to have. That, hey, I'm struggling because of X, Y, Z. So the better the relationship they have with the key people, but it's not always the welfare and education. It might be an executive at the club, might be another teammate, and the leadership comes from them to, mentor and help them through these things. And that's probably the biggest challenge. But I think that at the end of the day, it's a pretty blessed opportunity to be in, and industry to be in, and exciting for everyone else to enjoy the good part of it.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Flano. I like him. I don't really like St. George, but I like Flano.
Is it because he's at Manly or what?
Because he was at Manly. Yeah. And I wanted him as our coach. I shouldn't say that, but I wanted him as the coach. Look, for me, I believe he's going to take you guys to another title. I actually do believe that. I don't know when. I think there's a bit more work to be done. What's he like as a coach? Because with Flano, he tried to get a job at the Tigers. This is what they're saying in the media. He went for the Dogs, he went for the Tigers, gets a job at St. George, which, I think they've done unbelievably well. I think he's got the ingredients of what St. George needs. What's he like as a coach over there? I'm a big fan of his. That's why I'm asking.
Well, you look at the improvement they've given. Like, we haven't added stars to our squad, but the improvement is just, you can't even argue it. The belief he's instilled in them, the athletic development that they've got because of the people he's brought with him, the way he's professionalised it, the no bullshit that he's added to the way that things set. There is accountability, 360, and create an environment where they're working hard for each other. He's added Dean Young getting back from North Queensland, and Ben Wolfe and Ryan Carr developing under him. I think he's got a really good support network. He's got head of performance he got from Titans, who was at our physio, and then a consultant from Andrew Gray, who we won a premiership with. These sort of people that he's attracted and got around, and then he's just leading all of that. So he's done a great job of, I suppose, bringing that together and leading. Like, he's a really good leader. Obviously learned a lot. And we are lucky to have him, and we're seeing those slow incremental changes, and it's not easy for the fans to sit there and watch us lose like we do occasionally, or half the time at the moment. Well, it is, and then everyone wants to jump on, and that's just part of being a passionate fan. Like, that's it. But the the gratitude that we have to take as people have been involved in this club, going very average for 6 years now. We haven't made the final since 2018. It's been bad. There's no way about it. We've made some bad decisions on coaches. We've made some bad decisions on players, and fans deserve better. The club deserves better, and the people working it deserve better. So Flano's starting to bring that, but it is all of club thing. Like I mentioned, his support staff is what goes to making it better. But the definitely trajectory for the first time in a number of years is on the way up. And it's easy to see. So adding a few pieces, we do need a few things to go our way. The fact that we're still alive and really have an opportunity to push for the 8 is exciting. So, yeah, big few weeks of footy coming up.
That bottom 4, it's congested. It's like you got the top 4, and then you got, from 5 to 8.
You still in it, or you count yourself in the bottom 4? You think what are you 5th?
Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I had breakfast with Jim Dimmick on Sunday morning, and I told him my thoughts.
You're a fan, yeah. Well, positive. You won on the weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, I know, but I'm a very negative fan. I thought at 8-0 we were finished. Yeah. And my wife goes, "Why are you twitching on the lounge? What's wrong with you?" Yeah. She goes, "Why are you getting so worked up about this game?" I go, "Mate, I don't know. It's just done that to me."
Yeah, we were cheering on the Titans, let's be honest. We want you to be down round 7 or 8 so we can pip you.
Look, this week's the big game against the Roosters.
Yeah.
Now, I'm a Manly fan, but for what the media said about the Roosters this week, that they can't beat a top 8 side, I think they're going to beat Manly because of that. The media has really given them the ammunition to beat Manly this week. If Manly win, I reckon they could win the grand final.
So that's your projection. You're projecting, trying to protect yourself from just in case. And then if they win, you go, "Oh, I'm so happy because I thought we'd lose." So yeah, I see that defense mechanism you're trying to do as a fan there. Yeah. You neg it up so that when something good happens, you can feel better about it. And when something bad happens, you don't have to feel so bad. No, so that's good. You do you. I'll psychoanalyze you. You can talk yourself down, talk it all down.
No, I actually do believe
so you feel better.
I like people are going to get a go to the game.
You've conditioned yourself so you don't have to go through the pain of expectation. No, it's all good. Welcome, mate. Just be grateful you've been in the finals the last 6 years.
Look, I'm just spewing lost Flano. That's why we're huge fans.
No, he's doing a great job.
No, I'm a huge fan.
It's looking up. We're a chance. That's it's exciting. We've got
Look, if Manly don't make it, I'm going for Flano. I'm not saying George Flano. I'm going for Flano.
Grew up in the area. Unbelievable.
33 games from New Zealand. That's massive. Like that's huge. Like to be able to represent your country. What was that like? Like being able to put your jersey on. To play 33 games, you'd have to love that jersey. I mean, New Zealand's had flashes of great moments. Probably throughout your career as well, where they won a World Cup. You were in the World Cup side. Yep. You weren't meant to win that. Yep. You just win that. What was that like? Yeah,
it was awesome. So I suppose I got back from New Zealand last week. My whole family's still in New Zealand, so it is hard being away from them. But I feel like being able to put that jersey on, representing all of them at the same time, my grandparents and my mum and dad, that was made me so proud. My sisters, all my extended family in New Zealand. It was the one thing. They've got no affiliation to St George Illawarra, other than the fact they played for them. They didn't grow up in the area. They didn't, support the Dragons growing up. They are Kiwis. So that was something that made me really proud. A bit of give back. I got to travel there a lot, see them a lot. They turn up to the games. So that was a big part of my choice and my decision, and the success we had 2008 was being such huge underdogs to achieve what no one expected us to achieve was awesome. It was a special camp to be part of. Everything was done really well. It was all spot on. Wayne was sort of puppeteering and Stephen Kearney was running the ship, and it was just a lot of really good senior players in that team that were leading the way and showing us how to get it done. So that was awesome, but we had a lot of good times. And I think that's where the tours and the camps and the people you don't always play with, but you spend 8 weeks together non-stop. You do have a lot of good times and a lot of tough times as well. You go to England, in the north of England in November, October is not that
Crazy.
nice. So you do have to bond and some really good memories from those guys. And privilege to be part of that, especially when you only played for one club. So I didn't have that full exposure to different players, different clubs. So that New Zealand was the opportunity to do that. We had some really good years. 2010 we won the Four Nations. 2011 we had a tough tour. But the really dominant period where we were world number one was 14-15, where we won 3 games straight against Australia, 2 tournaments, and we were the favourites going into some of those games. And we'd set something really good under Stephen Kearney there. And being part of those tours were probably some of my best memories as well, because we weren't playing with fear. We weren't playing even as underdogs, and we didn't feel like underdogs, and that was a different feeling to what I'd had probably in the 7 years before. But yeah, no, those experiences are something I'll never forget. And being able to play with the quality of players and the level of players, and I suppose a bit more of a different cultural experience. Like a lot of Samoans and was a lot of Tongans, not anymore. A few white guys like myself.
That was before Tonga and
it was
created
just
their own teams.
They always had their own teams, but these people grew up in New Zealand. They were New Zealanders. Like, that's the piece. It's it wasn't the fact that you're Māori, Samoan, Tongan, white, whatever. It was the fact that we all have an affiliation to the country of New Zealand, and still love going back there. I said I was back there last week, and it was a special part of my career that's a lot different to the clubland, which is cool.
Yeah. Wayne Bennett, you said he was puppeteering. They call him a great man manager. What does he do really well that helps connect with the players and gets the best out of the players? Obviously, he'd have to have great people around him to do that, so they do their jobs. What does he do? What does he instill? Like, what are some of the ingredients that you've seen or maybe utilised in the business world that you've seen from these coaches?
Part of his ideology is around being the best person you can be and finding ways to do that. So all these sort of things where self-accountability, self-belief, the work ethic and what comes from it, I think, it's all a theory until you apply it and see it happen. Then you've got the evidence. I know that if I sacrifice this, if I do this and I don't do this, that I'll get what I'm trying to achieve. And he also individualizes that based on the personality of the player. He'll know what's good for someone else. He'll know what's not good for someone else. He'll know what people can do. And, you look at some of the players that have really flourished under Wayne's coaching, is because he gets to know the player and knows how to get the best out of them. And that in turn helps them understand what gets the best out of themselves. So that's probably it, and that does go across in any business. I'm sure leading people around here, it's pretty universal. Like I said, the theory of it is everywhere. Everyone knows it, but the application and the constant proof points is what enables him to continue to do it. And the person, at the end of the day, you're a staff member, you're a player. Unless you see it being good for you, it's harder to listen to the theory, because everyone can tell you what you should and shouldn't do. But until you see the proof of it, so playing better, staying consistent, winning, whatever winning looks like, it's pretty much going, well, how can I deny that, whether it be the fact that I ate well, or the fact that I slept well, or the fact that I shut off and enjoyed myself on the time off when rather than thinking about what the job was at hand. How can I deny that works? And if I don't, then I'm not really taking respect for myself. And I think that's the piece where he'll cater it to motivate, but then leave that motivation with you. And we're all humans, especially athletes, high-achieving humans who want to win, want to find a way to do better. So if someone gives them the tools to do that, not many athletes would be where they are if they didn't use those tools and try and be the best they could be. So it's a pretty good circle of management theory, the application when you see the proof, and yes, all those sort of things that I learnt when I was 22 to 25 under Wayne, and 26 were carried throughout my career in life.
That's interesting you say that, because everyone's petrol tank is a little bit different. So what they can focus on for one person will be different to another. and what they have to go away with and do something outside of the game in order to improve their game. And I think he'd done that well with Latrell Mitchell. And I was listening to Cooper Cronk the other day talk about, you know, the game where Melbourne beat the Roosters. Cooper Cronk said the thing that Wayne Bennett does extremely well is he'll get a player that's very good for 15 or 20 minutes, say it's a forward. He'll get that player fit enough to be able to play 40 minutes. So if you're a back and you need to do this job, he'll just make you extremely great at your job, but he'll create the accountability around that in order for you to fit that role. And I think what Wayne Bennett does, he knows where you got to walk, you know, get away from the game, what you got to do is an accountability measure, and then be able to look at each individual and going, I know exactly what each individual needs, which almost is relatable to business as well, right? It's very relatable to business because even me, you know, working in this business, you know, doing over 82 classes, you got so many things happening at once. And, you know, I was having a chat to a mate upstairs before. He said, think about the Blues, right? He goes, what did Madge do really well with them in Game 3? He goes, he focused on each player's job, and if each player does their job really well, in the end, they're going to be able to get the win. And I was listening to this thing with Abhi Carousel. He said, you know, I went to, you know, the Tigers for obviously, you know, the money, but I didn't realise how hard it was going to be to keep getting the wooden spoon. And I think where people struggle is when you go to an organisation or anywhere, a culture, you know, a different team, they struggle to be able to fit into that new culture. And if they're not winning, if they don't actually win and you can't see that metric, it starts to have an effect on you. It doesn't matter how much you get paid.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. And that's when you're applying that, it's just a system. Whatever you fit into the system, motivating that person to do it well. That's the same in employment, team sport, team business. It's joint effort that creates the results, and also you know, understanding how to apply that to your own strengths. That's the biggest thing. You know, people are put in positions because of their strengths and weaknesses. I'm put on the wing because I'm not the best defender, but I can catch a high ball. That's the same as business. You're putting the square peg round hole doesn't work. Applying that, and that's where great results are achieved as a team, and definitely that's the system of sport, and the lessons that are learnt from that flow on effect. And if you do, you know, when you talk about petrol tanks, every high performing athlete has a huge petrol tank. We're built a little bit differently. There's a level of energy. I can't sit still. Most people can't sit still that are wired like that. It is a privilege, but if you don't use that the petrol correctly, then it's a curse. Yeah.
Life after footy. Obviously, you're doing, you know, a fair few things outside of the game right now. What are some of the bigger projects you're working on right now? And you know, how have you been able to instill this into a lot of the younger players coming through?
Yeah, so it's our Illawarra Business School's been over 10 years now. My business partner, she's our CEO. She does everything. So being able to get to the point where making myself redundant, she's a great content creator in terms of writing programs, literacy, coming up with ideas. So she does all that. We worked in NRL transition to last year, still did a little bit with the RPA when keeping people connected. I said the Dragons, and then working property management. So strata management company, Jamison CNG Property Group. Look after the trade teams there, applying building maintenance, and really all that I'm doing there is managing relationships, teams, we have teams, and then there's also a joint accountability piece when buildings go out to do a job. For us, it represents our brand. They do a good job, great. They do a bad job, bad. How do I make sure that the customers on the other end, the people that are living in these buildings, feel good about it? It's creating accountability, creating systems, motivating people to do it, and then good customer service. So we're a growing company. It's been a great thing to be part of a 60-year-old business that's sort of iterating and growing very fast. I love that sort of organisation to be part of, growth-based organisations, those that are always looking to the future. It's an industry where things are not done very well. So finding better ways to do it, and not being perfect, but constantly iterating, anything like that where it's pushing towards making small changes, making small mistakes, big mistakes, but just continuing to try and make something better and win. I chase a win, whatever that looks like, different metrics these days.
Yeah.
But that's takes up the majority of my time. And 3 kids, my wife.
How old are they?
I got an 8. Well, soon to be 8, soon to be 6, and soon to be 2. So they're all August babies.
I'm glad I'm out of there, man.
So
mine are like 21 and turning 18 this year.
Yeah, and
but it's a good time.
Yeah,
it is
a good time. So making sure that I got time for that.
Yeah,
so if I have to pick them up after school, I'll just work later. Like that's the flexibility that the modern day provides technology to do what you not want to do, so you don't miss out on those times. I love everything I do. I love the club. I love my job. I love my family. So making sure that I balance my time with all of them, and also don't let the ball drop everywhere. It's a constant ongoing challenge, but that's wanting a challenge, craving a challenge is what I like doing as well.
You talked about before, like, and I always say this to individuals, like, how can you just focus on continuous improvement, even if it's just like 1%, whether it's your communication, you're talking about customer service, you're talking about all those little things that matter a lot, right? It's not easy, but every company or every organization has to continue to improve because the competition out there is always trying to improve metrics, or new competitions always coming in. How important is it for people to take inventory of where they're at, and even in business or relationships, to continue to improve and not stay stagnant? Because if you stay stagnant, you go backwards.
Yeah, and I think there's a period at the club where we stay stagnant. That's the reality, and that means we're going backwards. And I think everyone's been seeing that. We're out of that, and we're moving, we're evolving. Obviously, football is the picture and the result, but there is a bunch behind the scenes that have been working for a long time to make sure that moves forward. It's the people you do it with, is that. So a company at the moment, it's second generation, the family, still a family-owned business, but they are seeing the way it's been done for a long period of time, done great by their father. How do we make that better? How do we make that better for customers? So it's technology, it's providing a different service. So to answer, it's the people that are driving and part of it that make sure the continuous improvement, because like any culture, if you're surrounded by people that are not moving forward, you're likely it's harder for you to move forward. So that's advice to people choosing a career, choosing a job. It's not so much the service or a product. It's the people you're doing it with. Make sure they're aligned to your values. So what are your values? If one of my values is growth, if I'm not growing and something's not growing, I feel like I'm going backwards. So making sure that you align yourself with people and organisations that have that same mindset, and that's not rocket science. That is science. You are influenced by the people you surround yourself with. So surround yourself with those sort of people, and the rest will work itself out. If you are that self-motivated person that needs to be around something moving forward, continuous improvement, surround yourself with others that are aligned.
Now, I'm going to ask you this question because I want to see what your thoughts are. Madge wanted to have both the New Zealand job and the New South Wales job. Do you think he could have done both jobs?
I feel for Madge because I've got 4 jobs. So I think I can do everything. And he probably thinks he could have done both. It's probably the way that looks piece. It's more of an optics piece. I reckon he couldn't have, because the optics of both looks conflicting. So
is that because like one's Australia, one's New Zealand?
A bit of that,
really,
but also time. Like, how can you give this much time to this and this much time to this? He's going to be under public scrutiny and media scrutiny, and the first thing they're going to roll out, Benji's a perfect example. The guy went on a family holiday. Like, it's optics. You can do that. Of course you can do that.
Yeah.
Of course you can go on a holiday.
According to the situation of where the team is coming last.
No, but that's it. But of course you can do that. But the optics is, you can't win the public relations battle on that.
Yeah, that's right.
So the reality is, you're a rugby league coach. You cannot win the public relations battle if there's something that's not accepted by society. It's not accepted by society to do 2 head coaching jobs. It's not accepted by society to go on a family holiday, despite the fact it would have been good for Benji, despite the fact it would have been good for his family. You're not going to win the public debate on that.
That's right.
So that has an effect on external and whether we like it or not. When it is that professional sport, you're going to be under that lens. So I think because of the public relations, then Madge couldn't have done it well, because constantly questioning, what about this? What about Jerome Luai? What about Nathan Cleary next year? And he's like, oh, I'm worried about, I'm worried about Chance Nickel-Clockstad. So, yeah, I think that wouldn't have been probably you're probably not in the right industry to do both.
Fuck, I don't know. I look at it. When I look at it,
completely biasedly.
You know why? No. Only because I see Madge here all the time.
Yeah. So bias. Yeah, that's good.
No, look, I'll be honest with you. When he took the New South Wales job, I go, fuck, man, how are we going to win this? Like, I'll be like, and then when I seen what Madge was doing, and I seen him in the club, and like having conversations with him straight after the State of Origin, I looked at him, I go, this guy's actually made for these shorter runs at it, like New South Wales, New Zealand.
He did well with New Zealand because of that.
To me, like, and they were talking about this after what I seen and what he done. Not only that, like, even when I seen the New Zealand team, because they came here a couple of times, and when I seen, especially New South Wales, when I seen, geez, this guy just galvanised these guys to really fight for that jersey, right? And when I was talking to him, this was a while back, I said, like, how do you feel about that? He actually wanted both jobs, but until I seen what happened with New South Wales, like, and what he done there, it changed my thoughts on what.
So you think he could have done both?
After seeing that, and just talking to him afterwards, and then going, this is probably his like sweet spot of what is unbelievable. Like he can, because you can't play like that all year round, right? Yeah. But he can bring people up for this short period to run through brick walls, and you can't do that all season.
I fully agree, and my point on Benji's the same. I know Benji. I know the way he works. I know how hard he works. I know I played with him. He works harder than anyone.
Because he was at St. George too, right?
So and Kiwis, and so
that's right.
So I know that.
Yeah.
Can you convince the public of that? No, is the answer. I'm going to tell you no straight
there's
away.
No way, because I'm not.
So that's what I mean. When I said Benji go on a holiday, well, you say, oh, he can't do that. They come last.
Yeah.
Well, he can do that. I know he could do that. I know all that sort of stuff, but. At the end of the day, I don't write the papers. I don't have the public influence, and the majority don't agree with you in that sense, and the majority wouldn't agree with me in that sense. But what if they won? What if they win? What if New Zealand win, right? Say they win because, even though it's not that... Does the win make a difference though? Yes.
Yeah.
But the challenge is, what happens in between all these conversations? How does everyone feel about
100%.
it? It doesn't not exist. It doesn't not come into...
Well, you could see after the first State of Origin, they were hammering.
It's a perfect example of, like, anyone else going on a family holiday. If Craig Bellamy goes on a family holiday, someone said, I remember one of them in the commentary was like, oh, Wayne Bennett would never go. Yes, he would. All the time. It just, like, he really would condone that, and he goes away all the time.
Does he?
But everyone, public's like, oh, Wayne would never do that. Of course he would.
Oh, you mean Craig Bellamy or Wayne Bennett?
Wayne Bennett would go away all the time. He does go away all the time. He was...
When he coached us, out, mate.
When he coached us,
sneaks out. He's
when he
very
coached
good.
us St.
He's
George,
like Clint Eastwood, mate. He just sneaks out.
He was living in Wollongong, and flying back to Brisbane, where his family was, twice a week.
Oh, was he?
And like, so does everyone say that, or this? He's been doing that for 20 years, but
it's because he's winning, though.
It's not always winning, mate.
Always
no, he's not always winning.
He wasn't.
Has he won a comp since 2010?
No, he hasn't.
So is he winning?
No, he's not.
So that's.
But Brisbane got rid of him again.
But it's perception. That's what I mean. My point is perception that you can't control. That would be perception that he can't control.
Yeah.
You know him.
Yeah.
You believe that he could do it. But
does
the majority of people that don't see him once a week, don't do arm curls with him, do they see it? No.
Yeah.
Can you influence them? Well, a little bit. But can you influence the majority? No. So that's why you can't do it.
You can't. Okay.
That's why Bench can't go on a holiday to Fiji next year.
We went to Fiji a few times. It's a beautiful place. 3 hours away.
Yeah, I know.
3 hours away.
But
it's not.
Anyone would think, the way I read the paper, I thought he went to the Greek islands for 3 months. Well, Buzz was saying he went to the Greek islands for 3 months. So that's a perfect
Buzz
example.
needs a red card. He goes a bit too hard sometimes.
Nah, but that's his job.
You couldn't congratulate Madge properly.
That's his job.
Because what are we doing next year? He goes, mate, can't we just celebrate this year? You know what I mean?
That's his job.
And isn't it like, let me ask you a question, right? You've done so well for New Zealand, winning a grand final for, St. George. Were you able to stay in that moment and really, really relish what you guys had achieved?
Mate, I was on a plane to New Zealand the next week.
Fuck.
Going to play the Four Nations.
Shit.
But let me tell you, we got on that plane, myself, Jeremy Smith, and Nathan Feen. And we're there like hungover because it was first week, next Friday, we're on the plane and we were hungover. We had our presentation and we were like, we don't want to be here. We don't want to be flying to, but we turned up and we played Roosters. There's plenty of Roosters in the team as well. And we turned the corner. You switch back on. We had 1 week, so no. Yeah. But then we won the Four Nations. Yeah. And then I had 3 months where I got fat. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
And you'll never have a better off season than that.
Yeah.
So no, I didn't switch off straight away because I had a job to do with the Kiwis and I was sooking, and myself, Jeremy and Feeney was sooking, I wish we could party for another week. Yeah. But then we switched back on, turned back into game mode, did a 4-week tournament, and then we went bananas.
Yeah.
So and that off season from when we finished with the Four Nations final to when Wayne made us come back to training, and it was pretty funny. It was it was really good, and that 3-month period where I switched off was epic.
What I love about you, Jason, you got that growth mindset. You've taken what you've learned in rugby league and you're applying it in the real world. And also you speak a lot of sense. Like it's almost like you look at the optics and the math. Like if the math doesn't say it's going to work, chances are it's probably not going to work. The public perception is going to be a certain way. What does the future look like for you in terms of like growth? Like who does Jason want to become? You're turning 38 this year. What does that look like? I'm 50 in a couple of years. So, when I look at it, I have this metric of when I get to 50, this is kind of where I want to be. So I reverse engineer the amount of work that I need to do in order to get there. And then when I get there, I kind of assess and focus on what I need to kind of take me to that next milestone, whether it be, I might sit back there, reflect and go, 55 is my next, benchmark, or 60, and this is what I want to kind of do. But I know who I have to become in order to get there. What does it look like for you?
The club's a big part of who I am, and like you as a fan, when they lose, it hurts. So helping them however I can with the limited time I can spend on it. I just want to see them do better and influence it any way I can for the positive. Whether it be board member in the future, I sit on the district side, continuing to help the club at an operational where I can, adding value. I think that's the biggest thing, not just being a guy that hangs out at the club. How do I make this place better? So figuring that out. And then with my work, we're on a trajectory to continue to grow. I think our vision and ambition is happier at home, and that doesn't currently happen in strata living. So deliver on that vision of happier at home and be twice the size we are now, and that's the family's already done a good job, and the people are there to grow as fast as we have, so to continue to deliver on that growth, to change the way it's done in the industry, and deliver on our vision of making people happier at home is what it's going to do over the next 3, 4, 5 years, and definitely it's a good balance, and then making sure that while all this is happening, that I've got enough time to watch my kids grow up, turn up to their sport, pick them up from school every now and then, and support my family the best way I can.
And finally, you're in terrific shape. How important is training and life, like especially life after footy? How important is looking after your health, and what has it done for you to maintain that?
It's everything, and I think that's the modern day retired athlete. I train with a lot of, at Reborn down in the Shire, there's plenty of ex-footy players that live down there and train down there, and you see them ripping in as hard as they did. So you mentioned Luke Lewis before. That guy hasn't missed a day of training since he retired, and it's such a part of who you are. It's such an important part for more for your mindset than your physicality. The point of challenging and continually improving. So I love training. I I get skinny if I do too much cardio or don't do any weights. I get skinny. I've got that's
Fast
my metabolism, and I also can't sit still, so it helps. So I do weights, so I'm not skinny. So people can go, oh, you look like you can still play. I couldn't play, but that compliment is the reason why I do weights. And I love leg weights. That's the other thing. I'm strong at leg weights. I've always been relatively strong, so I like to focus on my strengths. And gym is a great way to do that, and continuing to challenge yourself and creating little ones. Like I create all my own challenges, whether it be so chase a different metric every 6 weeks. So last month I was trying to get to squat 200 again, and I hit that at the end. Next 6 weeks I'll try and do a heavy deadlift, get to a point there, and no one's asking me to do that, no one's measuring it, but I'll set a goal, work towards it. And as you know, it's not the getting the goal, it's the process that forces you to do that keeps you healthy, in a good headspace, and focused on something that isn't what's happening at work, what's happening at home. That's the piece that's invaluable to any physical exercise. And I think Australia has a really, really great culture and adoption around that, and you know, people like yourself and Jim, the industry has a really awesome part to play in Australian culture towards allowing people to chase their own goals, whether that be to be the fittest they can be, the strongest they can be. It's important for not just athletes, especially athletes, because we're so conditioned, and it does directly impact our own self-worth when we do or don't. But humans in general, with everything we've got going on in our busy lives.
Well, Jason, that was fantastic. Yeah,
thanks.
We had a bit of a debate there. Wasn't that big.
No, but I wanted to get it out there. But you only see things through your own eyes. I'm biased towards Benj, you're biased towards Madge, and I love Madge. But I just think that the public.
But I do get it. Like when you explain it, I do understand. I like to look at. You showed me another side. I like to look at both sides and go, well, fuck, he makes a point there. I probably didn't look at that, and it's like looking at the blind spots, huh? Not knowing exactly what does affect certain situations. But I'm going to take that on.
Yeah,
I'm going to challenge Madge next time.
Don't go with the flow.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you coming down. Got a lot of respect for you and what you've been able to achieve, but more so, and importantly, what you've been able to do. I'm a family man myself, loving that. You want to make time for your kids. It's very, very important. But also what you've been able to do in business as well there after footy. Really appreciate it.
Thanks
a lot.
Cheers, man.
Thanks.